Hello and welcome to Mobile Application Development Csit 301. My name is Paul Nitaki Ama and I will be the instructor for the course. Today we'll be looking at a mobile overview. We'll be discussing why it's important for us to have mobile applications and how it benefits our service. By the end of this session, the students will be able to explain the challenges of mobile application. They will also be able to compare the advantages and disadvantages of various mobile application designs. They will be able to identify IBM Worklight, which will be the tool that we would use for this course. And then they'll also be able to identify a mobile application design type suitable for any application. The session outline is as follows. We'll talk about why we should go mobile. We'll look at the considerations for mobile. We'll look at the mobile application development approaches, and then we'll look at Worklight. The reading list or materials are uploaded in the Sakai. Please do well to follow them. Now, there are various reasons why we would want to go mobile. The world now has become very mobile, and everybody has one handheld device or the other. It's now very important that we can reach services, applications on our mobile. Nobody wants to always rush to their desktop to go and do one application or the other. They would wish that it was on their mobile phones, they could easily interact with it and be able to perform every task that's required. Going mobile attracts new customers. Let's say you are a bank and you are able to go mobile. Now, from wherever your customers are, they are able to log in, they are able to perform transactions. It saves you the long queues that you have in your banking halls, and so mobile brings you new customers. Mobile also transforms the face of your business and IT infrastructure. Now, when you go mobile, you are able to reach a lot of people. Let's say that you have a company that is situated only in one location. You have not been able to expand further. If you go mobile, the area you'll be able to cover is larger than when they have to visit your physical location to interact with your business. Going mobile also improves customer service and interactions. We'll also see that going mobile optimizes mobile experience to build loyalty. We can also leverage on analytics, which is very key in extending and upgrading your business. So far, the mobile platform market share has been divided amongst 4 popular OSs. The first one is Android, the second one is the iOS, the third is the Windows Phone, and we have the other one categorizing of the BlackBerry, the Nokia, and other OSs that are in the market. Android has the largest market. Research has shown that Android has 79% of the market. Now, this was some research that was performed some years back. Followed closely by that is iOS. Even though the percentage is vast and different, iOS comes second with 16%. Then we have the Windows Phone, which is 4%, and then we have the other phones falling in the 2% category. Now, why you would consider to go mobile? Now, there are different hardwares that you would have to meet. Different mobile platforms have different capabilities and different screen sizes. Now, when you are building a mobile application, you would want to consider these because some devices have a touch screen while others use a QWERTY keypad and various buttons. Nowadays, most of the phones that we use come with a touch screen. So then, your mobile app design must be more touch-driven and not dependent on a mouse and keyboard. So when you decide to go mobile, these are some of the considerations you should be looking at. Another one also is the performance. Now, mobile interactions are short and focused. Now, research has shown that the average mobile phone session is 1 to 4 minutes long. Now, an average tablet session lasts around 8 minutes. So in building a mobile application, you should carry this in mind. Your users will not want to interact more than 1 to 4 minutes if it's a mobile phone, or more than 8 minutes if it's a touch screen. Also, devices have a limited amount of physical memory and storage space. So in building an application, since you are now going to run on the end user's mobile phone, you should have that in mind, that their storage capabilities are limited. Now, this would now inform how the application should be designed. Consequently, most people would run a lot of the logic on the server side and display and do fewer processes on the mobile end. Caching also is another area which has to be handled differently when it comes to mobile applications. You can't cache large amount of data on the phone because the phone might have the low memory, but you might be able to cache high amount of data on your server end. Now, you need to take these factors into consideration when building a mobile application. Also, authentication and security becomes key, because now your application lies in the hand of the end user. They are the ones going to use the application. It's not just running on your server end. So if somebody is able to enter into your application from the mobile end, they can do disastrous things to your application. So then security and authentication is also an issue and is very key. Just imagine that you built a banking application which is running on a mobile end, and your user forgot and left their phone somewhere. Now, somebody could pick that application, go and transfer money, and it would be as if it's the authentic user that is making that transfer. So what you want to do is that for every transaction, you would require a PIN to certify that transaction. Now, how you would manage mobile device is also going to come here, because in managing mobile devices, you have to go about it in a different way, as different from how you would do if it was a server-end application. Now we want to look at the mobile application development approaches. Now, choosing a particular approach requires that you consider some factors. The first one would be budget. Do you have enough money to build several applications per each platform, or you would want to save some cost and build one that runs on all platforms? You also have to look at the time frame. You also want to look at your target audience. Is your application going to run for a large population of people just with Android phones, or you are covering Android phones and iOS, or you want to capture the whole market? Now, each approach that we would continue to discuss has its own advantage and disadvantages. The three approaches that we will talk about are the native application development, the web application development, and the hybrid application development. Now, when we talk about web application development, we are talking about an application which can be run from a desktop or from a mobile. The user would need internet connectivity to then log onto your web application and be able to run that application from the web app. Now, the web application will use open standard programming models. When we develop web applications, they are not device specific. So a web application would run on an iOS. That same web application would run on an Android. The same web application will run on a BlackBerry or any other OS. Here, all you need to do is build your web application, and then the user is going to choose their means to access your application. The next one we want to look at is the mobile web application. Now, the mobile web application is just like a web application, but then it's more specific to the mobile phone. That means that initially, when you build just a web application, it could happen that the layout of your application is distorted on small devices. But when you build a mobile web application, that one runs fitting the screen size of the mobile phone. So the user experience is greater and better on a mobile web application than an original web application. Then there's also the hybrid mobile application. Now, with the hybrid mobile application, it's running on mobile only. Now, it runs on the device, the mobile phone that the application has been deployed onto. It runs on that device. And then the user can open web client model using JavaScript to bridge and access native device features. So what's happening here is that we are using web technologies and web tools to write an application that will sit on a mobile phone, and then using JavaScript, we are able to access device-specific features or native libraries. Then finally, we have the native mobile application. Now with the native mobile application, those are mobile platform specific. So if you build a mobile application for Android, then that same application would not run on an iOS or an iPhone. That same application will not run on a BlackBerry. If you have one application, you have to build for all of these OSs. Now the native mostly is faster or has a better performance capability than the hybrid mobile application. But then again, with the hybrid, you write once, sometimes with little changes, and then you are able to run on all OSs. Now the native approach, here we are building a binary file that is stored locally on the device, just like we've seen. And for most of us using an Android phone or an iOS phone or any of these latest technology phones, would realize that when we want an app, all we need to do is go to the marketplace, search for our app, download the app. That app mostly are specific to our OS. So normally, if it's an Android app, you would have it written with Java. If it's iOS, you have it written with Objective-C or Swift, as in recent times. And then that one is platform specific. If you are able to transfer or port that Android application, copy it onto an iOS, it's not going to work. So like I was saying, with the Android, we are looking at using Java to develop that. If it's BlackBerry, we are also using Java. If it's iOS, we are using Objective-C and Swift and the others. When we come to the Windows Phone, we use C#, Visual Basic, and then the .NET technologies. Now for all of these ones, the source is compiled into an executable, which is then deployed onto the mobile device, and then it runs. There are some pros and cons using the native approach. Now when we look at a pro, we get a full access to all device functions. Using the native approach, you get full access to all device functions. Also, the native code runs faster on the devices. But one of the downsides of doing a native approach is that you require specific skills for each set of platform. So let's say that you are building an application that you are targeting different mobile ends or different OSs. Then you will need to have an Android developer. If you are planning to deploy on an iOS, you would need an iOS developer. If you are planning to develop on deploy on Windows Phone, you would need somebody with that skill to be able to develop for that OS. Now, code is not portable, so you can't just copy one code from one end and then paste into another code for another OS and expect it to run. The development cycle here also can be costly and time-consuming. One specific application development where you would want to go native is when you are running games. For games, it's advised that for that, you go full native. The next one we want to talk about is the web approach. Already we've seen a table telling us the differences between all of these approaches. We said that for the web approach, here you build and you deploy on your server, and then the user using their desktop or mobile device will just log on via the internet, get access to your application, and then use that. Now here, you can access device-specific features, but it's limited. Because with the web application, you can access the webcam, but not so easy can you access a contact application or the contacts from a mobile device. The web approach uses technologies that are quite common. Here we are using HTML, we are using CSS, we are using JavaScript. These are the technologies that you need. Now, when you have these technologies, you are now able to build a web application which can be accessed from a mobile end or from a desktop. Here, the advantage why you would want to go fully web is to support multiple platforms. It's also cost effective and it's easy to maintain. Here, easy to maintain means that when you upgrade your code or add a new feature, here you are just looking for it to work on your server end. And then whenever they access that, they use your resources. So because of that, it's easy. Now, the disadvantage here, like we've already seen, is that there's limited access to native device functions. We would now want to talk about the hybrid approach. Here, the hybrid approach means that we are writing code once and having it to run on multiple platforms. The advantages of using the hybrid approach is that you are able to write once, like I just said, and then have it deployed on several ends. In this course, we would want to be using the IBM Worklight. Now, this is built upon Apache Cordova. So the Apache Cordova, which was originally known as the PhoneGap, provides us with a technology to write or build applications using web technology or web tools, just like we would do if we were writing just a web application. But here we'll use these web tools to write a mobile application that is easily deployed on all platforms. Advantages here, like we've already seen, we're able to support multiple platforms. The cost of development reduces, that of maintenance also reduces, and we are able to support many device functions. The trade-off here is between performance and functionality. Now, I believe that we have seen why it's important for us to go mobile. For this course, we'll be using IBM's Worklight tool to develop mobile applications that are hybrid. We will choose the hybrid approach in developing applications. The remainder of this course will now focus on Worklight and its usage. We'll be building mobile applications using Worklight and would explore the features of Worklight. Thank you. See you in the next session.